the meeting to order in the Gold Room of the town of Plymouth. And this is our February 3rd, 2011 Planning Board work session. And members who are present are myself, John Krudenberg, acting as the chair, Mike Ahern, Ron Bishop, Paul Wilson, John Ranlett, Bert Sutcliffe, and Pat Roach. I didn't want to get your last name wrong. Pat Roach. Missing, we are missing. Did I say, Robin, you were here? I missed you. We're missing Charles Berman, Bob Dragon, John Kelly, and Darrell Brown, some of whom are alternates.
And some of whom are at the...
And they're excused to the select board meetings. I don't think we have the power to exclude them, but I'll say it anyway. And to our cable viewing audience, hope the slight discombobulations that we'll have working in a different venue here, this room won't be too confusing. So moving on to item number 3 of our agenda is time for public comments. If anybody from the public has a comment to make on an item that is not before us tonight, you're welcome to do so. Seeing none, we'll move on to administrative matters. We have 2, approval of minutes and status of members for reappointment. So the first of that would be the minutes from January 6th, 2011. And with the minutes of what we have in front of us, of course, are from December 16th, 2010.
Right, we have that. Also,
You emailed us the one.
I emailed them. I can get copies if you like. But I also realized that we hadn't addressed December 16th.
Okay, so the reason why we have 2 minutes in front of us of sorts is that let's work chronologically. So we have in front of us the minutes from December 16th, which was.
That was the continuation of Tractor Supply for site plan review.
That's right.
And master sign.
And we started a little bit late because it took a while to get a quorum. Of course, minutes may stand until they need to be corrected, so there's no reason to spend an entire hour going over minutes. I think most people here were not here today, weren't there. Present at the meeting were just myself, Bert Sutcliffe, Pat Roach, and John Ranlett. So if the other board members do the custom of abstaining from approving the minutes because they weren't here, abstentions go down as a negative vote. So if you all abstain, we'll actually end up defeating the approval of the minutes. So just a weird parliamentary position to be in. We could just accept the minutes. But first, let's see if anybody have any corrections that they wish to make. I'll give you a minute to look at
There's a typo on it. It says bullet point driver, should be driver.
Which, where, Pat?
Sign plan committee section of bullet point driver, near 325 and 1. Just the R.
Oh, okay.
typo.
Yeah.
All right. Anything on page 2? And anything on page 3?
I have a question on page 2.
Oh, yes.
The second bullet point, Mike McNally's letter? Is that Mike McNally? Maybe the engineer, or is there really a Mike McNally that I don't know?
No, it's Mike
I don't remember the letter, that's why I
McNally.
asked.
The attention.
versus Mike McKinley, who is the applicant or the landowner, so I'll correct that. No, good catch.
Okay, anything on page 2? All right, and just to speed things along and not worry about a negative vote, I'm just going to assume by no dissent that we'll accept these minutes, and if they need to be corrected in the future, they can be raised at that time. Okay, then the other minutes we have before us in terms of on the agenda, the minutes that were emailed to us from January 6th, which was the session where Mr. Ranlett went over the CIP, and we were doing, sort of taking another step forward in our progress to discuss impact fees. I'll ask Mr. Rangler what he'd like to do since he chaired the meeting and I wasn't there. If you want.
Do we have copies of those?
They were emailed to us.
I know that, but do we have hard copies right now?
No, but if I can get a head count, I'll go get some.
Really quickly, or we could move them to the next meeting.
Because
I've moved, I've already given the table to Mr. Rangler, so I'm not going to
Okay.
worry anymore.
Why don't we just move it to the next meeting?
And can we get hard copies?
Absolutely, at the end of tonight's meeting.
Okay, we need to establish a protocol a bit on that, because I feel like I'm doing this with copies. I don't mind doing it, but I don't want to waste paper, so I guess if
Okay, well, we're
I'm
on
kinda
the
like
section of
you said.
administrative matters, so that's appropriate
Okay.
to
I'm
sort
so
of discuss this.
kind of used to getting the mailings prior to everything that was going to be addressed.
So,
Right.
would it be
And then
helpful?
if I didn't receive
But-
it, but even whether I get it, I'm still expecting it so that I have hard copies. So I
Oh,
can read
but that's
it
why I
later,
emailed
so
them.
right.
Because, well,
Do one or the other. I think hard copy, for me, I
Would it be
prefer to have
helpful?
the hard copy than the email. I mean, it would be great for both, but
Would it be helpful, Sharon, for you to just have sort of a master list of the members of who gets an email and who gets a hard copy? Because I know in the past there have been members who have not had email accounts and they always got paper copies. Or does that,
Well-
is that making your job go twice in a different direction?
It does, exactly. I mean, I don't mind, but maybe we could just discuss it because we've been kind of going back and forth. I'm presuming if people have emailed, they can print it out. Like I said, I don't, because we haven't had a lot of applications with a lot of paper, I haven't been mailing stuff out. I mean, because it saves us
Right.
money, not to be too cheap, but,
It makes sense, though.
yeah, I mean, if you know, but, if we need some hard copies, I can do it. I realized with this one that I hadn't sent that out, so I'm just feeling a little confused about it.
Okay, Mr. Ayer, did you want to?
Yeah, we had this discussion 2 years ago, and there was talk about just having the packets left at the town hall, and then the planning board members would come and pick it up. Still made copies, but at least saved on mailing them out.
That's pretty standard procedure in other towns.
And then if somebody didn't pick it up by like a Wednesday, it got mailed out by Friday, so it'll be there.
But when we finished the conversation, one of the members, who's an alternate now, voiced concern, and it was, I don't know whether it was hard to get there or not, but we decided that it would continue the way that it was, and probably in the future we'd make another decision. For this particular case, it was kind of easy to print it if you needed to, but in other cases, we've got maps and everything else. You obviously have to get the packet, but it's hard to know which time you have to print and which time you don't. I didn't have a copy of it, I just assumed it would be here today. I didn't know. So we do need to, like Rhonda said, it should be some kind of policies.
Well, if we're trying to save costs, there's two issues. There's the photocopying cost, and then there's the mail cost. And then there's, of course, the cost of.
Well, we'd have to
spending time
print it
doing
anyway.
Right.
So,
Right.
and there's
volunteers.
our self cost.
That's true.
I don't know how much you guys pay for cartridges, but it gets costly.
Oh,
if you
absolutely.
sell
No, I
them
know,
left and
I
right.
just, a lot of meetings I will end up recycling it, so, so I just need some guides. It's no huge deal, we just need to kind of get a protocol, that's all.
I'd like definitely like a situation. What it does for me is because my life's so busy between everything. I don't know how busy everybody else's life is, but if I get that it's sent out and I get it on a Friday or Saturday, it gets sent out Friday, Saturday. I know I got a meeting, research this. I got time to look at it. But I'm flipping through emails. I have maybe a 15-minute span to search my thing. I don't have time to research things a lot of times. So for me, that's how I'm programmed. But for me, it's easy if I get it in the mail and hands-on.
If you have staff support in that you could say, these need to go out to the planning board members.
Yeah. I mean, I can make
me.
that point.
And again, we've always talked about trying to make your job easier at the same time, so we're kind of at odds.
Does the side of the table have anything to
Can
say?
we have a compromise? Can you email and then have a copy available at the meeting we get here? Does that make sense?
I was going to suggest an alternative, and the alternative would be to say that the default is that hard copies would be mailed out to everybody unless they specifically opt out of that. I, for one, would be perfectly happy to opt out and just get the digital version printed.
Me too.
So maybe the default should be that they be mailed out, so people could voluntarily opt out of that.
I think we're back to then the planner keeping a list.
Just track
let's
who's
say,
opted out.
how
Right,
many
except for the
print,
people I have to fax
how
them
many-
to, and it's just, I don't know, it's
I can see
it's
Sean's
a-
point by making it consistent around the group, but I think we should all do what we can to say paper if possible. You know, so
Um,
that's my opinion.
I would like to, I don't know.
Well, you,
Did-
actually, no matter what, you do have to mail out the plans when we get them. They're, you know, that are.
Right,
they're large.
right.
So, assuming it's a prosperous economy and lots of people are making applications, the norm would actually be
Right,
for us to
right,
get something in the mail.
Right. But we haven't had a lot of projects lately, and we've had a lot of cancellations of meetings, so it's just been a little helter-skelter, it seems, a wee bit. So that's why I've relied pretty much on email.
What if you did the email process for these light paperwork
Mhm.
days and you sent a reminder? Don't forget to print out and bring your, or, I don't know, that's still putting
Still
passing
putting
the
more
burden.
work on her.
Yeah,
And
and
she
putting
could just
more
have a
opinion
system
on
and
you.
say, this is what I need to do. I need to send it out Thursdays or Fridays, and this is my job, and she's done. She doesn't have to be flipping back and forth, and this one gets this and that one gets that. I have to worry about it.
Well-
Keep it simple and just
Right.
get a
I
system
mean,
out of things.
it's
This
not
is
that I
what
don't
it
mind
is.
working, it's that when you have different scenarios, then you lose it. Plus there's ZBA, plus there's, you know, this plus. I don't have a secretary.
Sounds like what you're hearing though is that people would like to save the town money and costs, would like to save the environment of printing, but if you really want to be consistent, we need to have that consent. I mean, that's what I'm sort of hearing. I mean,
I think the most cost is the mailing cost. It's not the printing, because she's gonna have
Right.
the physical cost here. She's printing it out, but she's waiting, so she's actually doing more work. You know what I mean? So I just think if you can just get a systematic, this is what I'm doing, you're gonna get it in the mail, this is your copy, I'm not printing out at the meeting, make sure you bring your copies. Everybody's responsible when she sends it out. She doesn't have to backtrack or catch up
I
or,
must have misheard you, because it sounded like you said two systems at once. Is she mailing, or is she saying bring your own copies?
well, if she mails
I
it,
mean-
bring your copy,
Yeah,
bring
mails
your
it.
copy that she's sending you.
Okay.
Not
So
no
then,
two.
okay, so then you wouldn't have to spend more time or money reprinting things for these meetings, theoretically.
She is.
Theoretically, it just seems like a lot of repetitive motion. I mean, if you mail them, that's great, but please try to bring your, I mean, and I understand everybody's got busy lives and paperwork, and I don't mind, you know, I'm not trying to shirk my responsibilities, I'm just saying, we need to get a system and everybody try to stick with it, and then in the odd situation, we can certainly make more, but, you know, I gotta get up and run. I just, it's the nature of the beast a little bit.
Anybody else have any comments? Who's spoken? Any thoughts?
I think the mail out work well, you know, and right now I'm having problems with my computer, so until I get it done, I don't get my emails.
When wireless is down, I can't print. So if
Okay.
it's gonna be printed one way or the other, it'd be nice to.
Okay, so the electronic version is not as efficient as we would hope,
Right.
apparently, from what folks are saying.
That's
So that's a
that
backup
sounds like
now.
the message.
Okay, so it's shifted, all right. So the primary mode is to mail them. So I'll just mail them. I'll just
Is
mail
that
them.
Same
normally the
postage.
Friday before that Thursday? Is that my understanding? So,
I think the last planners send them out on Fridays, but
Yeah.
it gets the schedule.
well, I'm just trying to get a feel so that she can get a grip on her
Right.
life, her busy
You've
life.
seen my office.
I haven't lately.
Oh,
Is he more
I knew what it
than-
looked like when you moved in. It wasn't
No,
pretty.
it was worse.
All right, they'll get mailed out and they'll get electronically sent.
You can say postage and give mine the door.
You get your mail, right?
You give mine the
You
door.
do get your mail.
Right, I'll say
Just say postage.
Either way's all right.
No, actually, I'm going to enlist Don's help.
Yeah, you should bring mine.
No, your mail.
All right.
Well, sure.
So we're kind of right back to the beginning, but
Yeah.
that's okay. I just won't make a lot of extra copies. Hopefully folks can bring your mail copies.
Absolutely.
All right,
Everybody's responsible.
that was exciting.
Well, you got your wish. We had a discussion on that matter.
You got half business.
So we also have the status of the reappointment of members. I think
Yeah,
that's for you.
I did email, just for everyone's general information, I did email those folks whose terms are up this April 2011, and John, as we all know, graciously overserved his term, so, and your term was up. John Arnett's term was up. Bert's was up, no. Bob Dragon. And that was it. So I have heard from you.
Right?
In terms of-
I'm continuing my desire to step down.
No way! No way!
That was kind of a
No way! Oh,
Setting
so
back out graciously, right? Well, I mean,
Wait,
what did you say, a decade? That's a good public service.
Wow,
And-
really? Congratulations.
Yeah, John Randlett
Might be 9 years, but it certainly feels like a decade.
has graciously decided to ask for reappointment. Yes, okay. And I haven't heard from Mr. Dragon yet, and Mr. Sutcliffe, we haven't heard from you. And you don't have to tell us now, but
Self-defense, actually.
Okay.
I'm thinking about not seeking reappointment at this point.
Glutton
Where-
for punishment?
Where it ends. But,
the deadline is March 18th.
okay.
As
Oh,
I
I
said
guess
in
we'll
the email, so
Yeah.
you need to
We'll
send
procrastinate.
a letter to the board. You can send it to me, and I'll make sure they get it or whatever. But
If you're ever curious about when your term does, and not only can you ask the planner, but it's also online at the town of Plymouth's webpage under the planning board section. You can click on the link for members, and it gives the
You're
terms.
we've got 2 more years.
Last year, you re-upped last year. Okay, so for everybody in the viewing audience on cable, and you can also watch this on the internet streaming, you should know that there are going to be vacancies on the board, and you are invited and welcome to submit your name if you're interested in serving on the planning board in the town of Plymouth as an alternate or voting member.
March 18th.
March 18th is the deadline, so you do need to give a formal letter to the town administrator,
To the Board of Selectmen, because they're the appointing agent.
to the select board. And I think we're moving on to item number 5 then. Correspondence, is there any correspondence? Then we have reports of committees. Mr. Berman isn't here for the select board. Does the town planner have anything to say instead? Mr. Wilson for the Conservation Commission.
There's nothing to report today.
Planner Penny for the ZBA.
No, the ZBA, for lack of an agenda, did not meet.
Okay. Ms. Bishop for the Water Sewer District.
Yeah, the only thing that I have to announce is that the PVWSD will be holding a public hearing on Tuesday, February 8th to set the water and sewer rates. The rates, the hearing's going to be February 8th. The meeting's going to be held in their office at 5:30 p.m. and it will be retroactive for January 1st if anybody's interested. Hopefully most people that are on the water department's already been notified by mail through them, but if anybody else, for whatever reason, is interested, again, that is February 8th at 5:30 at their business office. That's it.
Thank you. Then we have 3 items, but still don't have a representative. Maybe 4 items dealing with rivers and lakes. Three about that. Mr. Ahern, you've been on some of these things, haven't
The
you?
Pemmichawasset River Local Advisory Committee, from their emails, they have finished their survey that they put out on the internet and invited people that they knew and others to fill it out. And they've had, from their emails, put a number of people that are riparian landowners that have filled out the survey. They had no way to track it, I guess, to find out where anybody was, whether they were actually living in that area, whether they were out of state. But I guess quite a number of them were in that area or on the river. they're looking now to analyze it and determine what it means and to start working on a management plan.
Excellent. That sounds like a lot of progress has been made. In the process of being made. All right, does anybody have, we'll do a sort of open it to the table. Anybody have anything else to say about these from these other associations or committees? So if anybody in the television audience is interested in these issues of Newfoundland Lake Region Watershed Steering Committee or the Newfoundland Lake Region Association, or the Plymouth Regional Emergency Management, we have some openings. And we have the town planner's report.
I really have nothing specific to report. This time of year is just really busy getting ready for town meetings, so I've kind of been consumed with that. But fortunately, no crises. Oh, actually, I do. The traffic light, as you all know, is working at Boulder Point, and that means that that is pretty much done. We had a meeting with Mr. Alexander, if you remember. He came before you for the site plan and met with his construction agent, and everything seems to be going along nicely, and they're just waiting for spring to start construction. So it's very smooth.
Is the gate open?
The gate, I just got some paperwork from Mr. McNally, the town engineer, today that signed off on all the work that was done on Boulder Point Drive. So the gate will be open imminently.
In the what?
The gate, the crossover
Right,
gate.
when?
Imminently.
Imminently, very soon.
What is it? Oh, that's what I was asking. When?
When is those?
Soon.
And if you're sort of my, my
It's a nice
site, so
big
if I'm missing, you just
turn.
got
Pretty
nothing.
soon, sometime, I
Don't
think.
take it personally.
Coming soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Checks in the mail.
Okay, item number 7 is new business. Mr. Richard McGowan is going to present informal conceptual design, I believe.
McGowan, that's my name.
Very, very, very informal.
Yeah, very
So-
informal. This is actually kind of like a preliminary to a preliminary, representing the skate park Plymouth. Yep.
I can make some copies.
Where?
That's okay, you can have
Sure.
that one. And that's just a rendition of what it may look like. At this point in time, we really haven't finalized any designs for it.
Do you want to give folks some background, Dick, just generally speaking on the project?
Yep. Okay, the skate park is something that has been talked about for several years in town.
You say skating, we're not talking winter skating. We're
No,
talking
skateboard.
Skateboard.
Skateboard, BMX bikes,
Yes.
that type of activity.
Got it.
A lot of people feel it's something that we really need to have in town. And, Michael Courier has kind of picked up the controlling side of it and has put together a board, and we're in the process of doing fundraising. Right now, with in-kind donations, we're doing quite well, actually. We're up in $50,000 to $60,000 range right now.
Sweet.
Okay? We need to go quite a bit further. It's a fairly expensive project to do. And where this is going to go is down past Rite Aid to the left. If you look down over, I made some maps for you.
Wetland.
And I also included a card on here that has Michael's email address. And actually, I'll just pass them around.
Oh, okay.
Stop. I tried to remember,
I want to read it.
who's in ownership of the land, this,
Alex Ray owns the land.
Okay.
Yep. It's in Locomotion or something like that. Is the name of the landowner.
I spoke to Mike way back in
Yep.
September.
Yep.
Fuzzy.
And Alex has very graciously given us the use of the property.
Can I get a better understanding, like when you go past Rite Aid and you're going down there?
Yep.
And then there's an intercept where you can go along the
Exactly.
railroad tracks, that's what you're talking about,
Yep.
in there?
Yep, you go back in there, you've got
Exactly
the concrete fuel tank holding
There's
things that are out there,
old
structures.
railroad
Yep,
4x4s out there and
yep.
big dump site
All
there.
mattresses.
Yeah, that's good.
No, it's not like that. It's not, it's actually pretty good. I did some test pits last fall, and It looks good on there. You know,
Oh, good.
we were concerned that there might be some stuff
Yeah,
buried, and
yeah.
we really didn't find much of anything at all. The park is going to go over. We're going to shift it towards the railroad track.
But it's gonna be on this side, it's not gonna be
Yeah,
on
it's
the
gonna be on
other
this
side,
side.
like the
Yep.
sewer or water department. I
Right.
mean, the highway department.
Right, it'll be on this side. Yep. We shouldn't really be creating much of any environmental issues in the fact that that's all a gravel base down there now anyway. For the most part, the parking area that we plan on or intend to use. So really, the only impervious areas that we're going to make is the park itself, which is, at this time, we're looking at between 6,000 and 8,000 square feet.
Is your dashed line the access to it off of?
The dash line basically shows the gravel area that's there, and that's my winging it, actually. I think it's not by a survey or anything at this point.
Can you explain where you're going into that driveway,
Mhm.
such a driveway? Where is the connection here? Is it running along here?
Yep.
You're not showing it here.
Yep. If you can kind of look
Well,
at
I'm
that.
gonna draw on it.
But basically, the road does run this way, okay? And the park may get twisted any number of different ways. We're not sure exactly how we're going to sit it in there.
This is north this way? or
Yes.
south? That's north?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, this is the road, right
That
here.
ditto here?
Yep.
I know, to go into the proposed state park.
Yeah,
That's
this
what
is
I'm
the
asking.
road. Okay, there's a big gravel area down there right now.
Yeah,
And that's what we intend to use as a parking area.
but how are you getting into it?
Right off that road.
Both, so you can have it in and out, or out and in?
It'll just be an open parking area.
That
This
It'll
whole
go right
section-
off from the road.
This whole section is gonna be
Yep.
parking right here.
Yep,
Yeah.
It's all gravel down there now.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to give me an idea, right? To drive by. Yeah.
Do you have any projected time frame, or is it pretty much incumbent upon fundraising?
It's incumbent on fundraising, yeah. I think that we would do very well to do any construction this next year. I think we're going to need another full year of fundraising to get to a point where we have enough money to build this. If we can do it sooner, great. You know, if somebody steps up, you know, a big sponsor, super.
When you're all finished, is the intention to keep it private or to donate?
No, it's going to be open to the public. It'll be manned all the time that it is open. Okay, there'll be hours that we'll post.
When you say manned, what does that mean?
Somebody will be there overseeing it. It won't just be something that you can get out and
Go wild.
swing the gate open and go in and use. Our intention.
So there's gonna be fees involved?
No,
or-
no, we're trying to keep it so that it's open to the public to use for free.
So they can actually have like a, somebody for emergency situations, if somebody gets hurt, there's gonna be somebody there.
Well, yes, you'd have the attendant there. And
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like, yeah. Okay, cool.
So for security, it's obviously going to be complete fenced in,
It's going to be fenced.
and
Yeah.
locked up at night when
Yep.
they don't use it.
Yeah, and right now we're expecting to do lighting, you know, for security reasons.
Right.
Unless things go exceptionally well, I'm not going to say that we'll do any lighting that would actually make the park available for use at night.
Right.
I'm not saying that that couldn't happen somewhere down the road,
Future, yeah.
but right off, no.
You're probably aware that in terms of lighting, that the town's been promoting dark sky compliant lights.
Okay.
So they shine mostly down and not up.
Yep.
I think Mr. Wilson has something to say too.
Well, I just had a question to ask, just to understand this drawing better. Is this at current grade level, this pad area?
Okay, let me explain that, because no, it'll actually be raised as much as 5 or 6 feet, okay?
Yeah.
And to raise that, this infiltration basin that I have drawn on here,
Mhm.
basically we expect to take the material from site to raise that, okay? And then the drainage that is created by this will be going into that infiltration basin.
So, and then this is depressed from
Right.
this pad
Yeah,
level?
exactly.
By how much?
5 to 6 feet. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be,
Going up.
the bottom then is about at current grade then? is that
Yes,
it?
yep.
Okay, so you don't really excavate, you build up around it?
That's what we're looking to do, yeah.
I see.
Do you have any particular questions for us that we could help you with?
Well, I guess one of the questions, having been through the process of building a subdivision here in Plymouth recently, I realize the fees that can be incurred with the engineering, and be it that this is a project that's being funded by the public for the public, we'd kind of like to work with you guys, and hopefully maybe I can talk with your engineer, so that, you know, what review you do need done, which should be fairly minimal, doesn't come at an expense to us.
I think that we try to be as frank as possible.
Right.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, yeah, we can certainly address that. I might suggest maybe a formal letter to Mr. Freitas / the select board, just to keep them
Yep.
apprised of it.
Yep.
And then, you know, because it would be pretty much pro bono or very reduced rate with our consulting engineer. And
Yep.
you know, it's a public service. I assume it is. There's no fees or
Exactly.
anything, so, yeah.
And Mike's been in touch with Mr. Freitas as well, so they're pretty well informed. But mostly, I just, you know, you guys are going to be hearing about this, and I didn't want it to be something that you were questioning as to what it was, where it was, and who was behind it.
That's the vision.
Yeah, I was going to suggest it would make me think of Plymouth Water Department. They're putting down like a free water supply down there at the amphitheater. It might be behooving you to submit something to them and ask them to put some sort of water system down there. So I figure these kids are going to be skating and getting thirsty.
Mm-hmm.
Do something to...
Yep, and we will have a skate shack, we will have power there as well. At this point, we're looking at using porta toilets probably for the sanitary.
Is there any age limit on this? Do you project?
No.
Because you've got
No.
different populations here, so it would be open to PSU students.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, they
Skateboarding to
Yep.
the parking lot.
they've been a big help on this. They have a snowboard club that's been very much involved, and I really welcome all of you to come next spring. We're going to be doing a skate jam right next door here, where we'll have ramps and stuff, and it's really fun to watch. We did one last year down at the courthouse. We probably had 150 kids, and if anybody ever thinks of skateboarders as a group of rowdy kids that just have a hard time fitting in, it was great to watch. Those kids all took turns. It was really a special day. It was fun. It was fun. A lot of good kids.
Has there been any discussion that if this park exists, there would be less skateboarding going around on it?
Well, that's what we would like to hope. You know, the kids will get down there because it's certainly going to be enticing. This is going to be a premier park, really. I mean, there isn't anything like it in central New Hampshire. I think you got to get down to Rye to find anything. There's a big one down there, but
Would you require safety equipment?
we're looking at requiring helmets for kids under 18, and then it's kind of up in the air what we do over 18, whether they sign a waiver or what we do with that.
Yeah, how is the insurance held on that? Is that something Alex has to do?
No, that will be something that we will
Who's we?
have. We Plymouth Skate Park.
Another question, does Alex retain ownership of the land now? I mean, or is it transferred to you guys?
We're working through that right now. I can't tell you exactly how that's going to play out.
How about liability insurance on this project? Or
As far as the construction of it,
construction and, are they gonna have waivers that they will find when they go in there?
we'll have waivers, and we'll also carry a policy for the park as well.
Approximately, what are you looking at as far as a goal that you're gonna need to reach to get it off the ground?
This is about a $200,000 project. So you'll see also on here is a place that you can make that donation, so if any of you feel free, or any of the viewing public.
Hold up a close-up for the public.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Is there a website they can...
We're on Facebook right now. I don't believe there is a website per se.
Do they still have the display up at Hannaford?
It's getting moved around. I'm not sure where it is right now, but it's getting bounced around.
That's where I saw that.
Yeah.
It looks really nice.
Are you looking to get grants for funding?
We're looking at all options that are available. Finding people that have time to write the grants is...
If you get a grant, let's say for 50% of it, and so there's that money there, and you still have to raise $50,000, $60,000, are you going to start using the grant and then depend on the donations to come in after?
I wouldn't suspect that we will start anything until we're fully funded.
Because I know that I really appreciate this presentation, and there's been other groups out there that have been kind of tight-lipped about what they've raised for building something and for the public. And I appreciate you coming in here and giving us the information and waiting for months. So if the grant money got used up, they wouldn't be relying on taxpayers to finish paying for it if they didn't get the donations. So
We are trying to do this totally outside of the tax base.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. That is great.
Yeah. And that's our goal. We don't intend to ask for anything at this point in time. If the town wants to throw us some money. You would say no.
People.
But actually, I'll leave this.
Oh, terrific.
All right. Any other questions?
No, very laudable effort, and
Thank
feel
you.
comfortable and give me a buzz, you or Mike. Well, Mike and I have
Okay,
spent time
good.
to time, just so we keep on
Yep.
the same page.
And like I said, Mike's email is on the card, so if you guys come up with any questions, you wake up in the middle of the night and something dawns on you, send him an email.
Great, well, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. Have a great night. Thank you for your time.
Good to see you.
All right, moving on to next agenda item is our unfinished business, and we are continuing to discuss impact fee development. And
Did everyone have a chance to look at the video?
I did.
Very little.
Video of.
The meeting.
You
Why?
lived there.
You were there. The crazy video.
No, I was just curious because, John did bring an example of the CIP, and I think we're starting to boil this down now, which is good. And I was just thinking, I was rewatching it again this afternoon. What I'll do for our next meeting, our workshop, I'll come up with a synopsis of where I think we've been and where we're going on this, and just kind of boil it all down.
I'd like to throw one more thing into this, and I hopefully it won't be a lot of work on your part, minimal. But I had heard a rumor that an impact fee is also an application fee. Could possibly, if not all the money when an applicant comes in, pays their application fee to be heard in front of the planning board. I assume some of it must go towards analyzing it and reviewing the project. But I had heard that there was a substantial amount of money just for the Lowe's application alone. I mean, it was in the thousands of dollars. And I'd kind of like to know how much they did pay for an application fee, and whether that is a fee that we don't have to get back to them if it doesn't go through, or if a light doesn't get put in. And
Well, it's my understanding that all the fees go into the general fund.
right,
For starters.
so it is kind of like an impact fee already that we have.
Well, do we give back application fees? No.
And I can't remember exactly, but
So depending on territory, and so if they're in this territory, you're going to be charged this amount of
The
money.
impact fee, as I understand it, is more or less for, the impact on schools, the town,
Right, traffic.
the water
Yeah.
district, the whole
Here's
nine.
Water
But a dollar's a
they're on their
dollar.
own.
If they're paying $10,000, $15,000 for an application fee, and I could be wrong.
Oh, I don't think it was that high. I mean, I'd have to look, but it's also
It'd be
based
nice to know.
on formula on square footage too, I think.
Right, and that's the thing. It
Yeah.
was a big application. There was a lot of money that came into the
Square
town.
footage, yeah.
And it's still sitting somewhere or spent. That was
Oh, yeah.
quite an impact fee that we collected.
But I think the
Somebody's looking
theory
at it.
I think the theory is that a larger sized project requires more review, both from a town planner's perspective, from this board's
Right,
perspective, from the
right. I mean,
engineering perspective.
In that case, it does take more time, and frankly, in the case of Lowe's, it's different pots of money, but there's a lot of money for litigation. Lawyers' fees were astronomical on that, so it was kind of a loss leader, I think, in terms, but I'll check for you, Mike.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the RSA pretty clear that the impact fees have to go to what the impact is, and not have to be reimbursed back to the applicant?
Exactly.
So you tell them you need a traffic light, you turn out, you don't need a traffic light, you give them my back, right?
Exactly.
If the money, if the funds aren't used within a certain,
Right.
was it 3 years?
6.
6 years. And it's a state law, so I don't think we can waiver on that. So
Right.
you can't consider, I think you have to keep it separate from an application fee.
Oh,
Because that's not reimbursed, whereas the impact fee might be reimbursed.
Right, so an application fee is kind of a nice thing that we already do.
Right, right.
And if we go through this whole process and we finally decide, well, it's probably, the economy's not good, a few other reasons, we're not going to do an impact fee, boy, I hope we publicize the heck out of it so that businesses will hear that, hey, Plymouth is not doing an impact fee. Yeah, let's think about Plymouth now. I hope we advertise
Right.
all over the place and get some people
Well,
in
we
here,
will have-
manufacturing, whatever we can
We
get.
will have the public information sessions, which is, that's your venue for getting the word out.
Well,
I
get the
mean,
union leader down here and say, look, Plymouth isn't
Get
doing
Russian
an impact
wars here.
fee. Get whoever we can. Boy, what an opportunity for Plymouth to say, look, they analyzed the whole impact fee and they want businesses to come in. Boy, that would be nice.
Sharon, who would be keeping track of that anyways in this department, in the town?
track of what?
Impact fees, if we were collecting impact fees. who
Oh,
would
I
be
don't
the
know,
ones
we have
who'd
to
be-
figure out a mechanism for that, I mean, that's,
Who normally
that's in
would?
accounting. I
Don't know, in
I
the
don't
county?
know. Probably, I don't know, we'd have to figure it out. I mean,
Yeah,
because
they
it's a
would
fair
have to
amount
set
of,
up
it's a
something.
Do we have
fair
to hire
amount
somebody
of
to
work.
take care of it? I mean,
I mean,
no, we
you-
gotta pay
It would
attention
just
to
be-
these
It would
things.
just be some type of reserve. You'd set
Yeah.
up.
But
set
somebody
up
has
a-
to keep track of it and
Well, I mean,
manage
they do
it.
that in town accounting like we do that.
Like they can take on any
the-
more?
Like we do the trust fund. I mean, it's not anything that has a lot of activity. It's like a reserve account for this.
But things come up. and they
It
have to
doesn't,
handle
that
it
wouldn't
as
go for
part of the
engineering
board.
and stuff, I mean, you've got
Yeah, right.
apples and oranges here, so. But anyway, I'll double check on that.
It would be nice to know what the application fee was paid for a couple of big projects recently.
Say, oh yeah, you take care of
I
it.
know Home Depot came in,
Sure
they
will.
paid some application fees, there was a lot of money.
Do you remember when that was? That was before me, I realized, but.
That's around the time. Lois
Just
got-
before I came onto the board.
It was right at the lowest.
During,
and then-
yeah.
So
then it back up.
2005, 4?
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
4-3.
2-1.
All right.
I think that Lowe's was here forever.
I came here in 2004 and that was sorry.
All right, so 2002.
7.
Okay. Right.
It's amazing.
Time flies.
Okay, we'll figure that out.
Not necessarily had the fun.
Yeah.
So I did, my internet connection was not cooperating toward the end of the meeting. But did at the end of the last meeting, was there any determination about what would be discussed at this meeting? Have you given us
Not
a good idea
really.
what we'll do at our next meeting?
Not really. I thought it would be catch up a little bit. And, you know, I will have the synopsis. Oh, shoot, I forgot, planning board books, don't leave home without them, the new ones. Oh, they're downstairs. No, we were just saying that, I mean, first of all, we have to wait until after town meeting. The safety complex is a real pivotal piece of this right now because A, are we going to have it? B, where is it going to be? I mean, that in and of itself speaks to, you know, access of emergency services and traffic, and it just starts generating the kinds of factors that we're looking at in terms of impact fees. And, you know, theoretically, I don't know, put it in an area of the most growth. We just got to start pinning things down so we can start making, hopefully, some educated decisions on stuff and like I keep saying, you know, reeling it all in. So we're basically going nowhere fast until after town meeting on this particular item. I
have to ask, this is our third session on impact fees. I'm still having a heck of a time separating in my head what an impact fee would pay for versus what a tax bill would pay for. So if we're talking, and the reason I bring it up now
Yeah,
is
that's
because we
good.
have a fire station and police station that obviously need to be built now.
Right.
Right.
Go to
And then
general
you're
fund.
waiting for somebody to
Right.
come to town so you can charge them an impact fee to help cover it when it's an impact.
Oh, well,
is
no,
here
not
prior
to,
their
no, not to
arrival.
necessarily help cover that. No, these would be additional impacts.
I think the impact fees, as I understand it, those are fees that are related to Lowe's coming in and having to
Yeah.
do this
Right.
and having to do that.
Well, I hear that sometimes,
So-
but then I hear, but the school funding keeps getting
What does
back.
Lowe's
into it.
have to
I
do
don't
with
see how
school?
Lowe's would ever have an
Right,
impact
what
on
does
schools.
Lowe's have to
I mean,
do
a
with
large
school?
development, an immense development might have
Well,
a
definitely.
significant enough impact to really hit them with a specific fee in addition to their tax bill.
Right.
I'm having a hard time with that. Like,
Well, that's
where
because-
is it, pay it forward versus pay ahead?
There's a lot of floating stuff, but determination of impact fee thresholds. We're required to determine, this is site plan. Bear's looking at, we're obviously determined to see if a development generates sufficient off-site impacts, such as extra whatever, if they had a lot of fires. Let me back up. We decided at the last meeting that we would pretty much at this point in time focus on commercial development because big residential development isn't happening at this point in time. So we've got a couple of problems here. One of the problems is by the time we get to a point, time has moved on, so we're behind the eight ball because we haven't, nothing's static. So anyway, we're going to stick with it for purposes of trying to figure out what we're doing. We're going to stick with commercial impact fees. We're going to, generally speaking, look at Tenny Mountain Highway right now as a case study, as a pilot thing, as a scenario, just to do some brainstorming, and then see when and where the safety complex goes in, because if the safety complex goes in, we'll know where it is, we'll know the routes for the fire engines to travel, how quickly can they get to this and that, blah, blah, blah. I mean, those are cost issues. Those are economic issues when it comes down to the fire department, which is an entity that receives impact from development. I know I'm all over the place with this, but it's kind of hard to put a spin on it. It gives us a starting point to try and start to do some analysis. If the safety complex gets voted down, then we're back to the beginning again. If we're trying to project, we've got it's like a river with tributaries. We've got 2 or 3 different things going on at the same time. We're trying to chase them all. If the safety complex does not go in, then any further development, theoretically, on Tenny Mountain Highway, which is what we're looking at now as a case scenario, one of the data sets that we're looking at for analysis would be emergency response. So this is hopefully trying to help us start to figure out what we need. Do we need anything? We know there's traffic congestion already on Tenny Mountain Highway. We've got a new traffic light in, which is great. That reflects the growth of the business. But we've also got a couple jam-ups at Smithbridge Road and this and that. So if someone else comes in, or a couple someones, because we don't want to make people penalized for development. Long term, are we looking at putting in let's say theoretically, in a roundabout? I don't think we can fit another traffic light in a roundabout or something. These are the kind of growth issues, build-out issues, if you will, for extrapolating, which is really hard to quantify. It's really hard to quantify
Well,
because
isn't that state road is Tenny Mountain, right?
Yeah,
That
but-
has nothing to do with whether we want a roundabout or not. We can't do it. But that's a good idea as
no,
far
but
as
Rhonda,
road
that's an
repairs.
impact. That's an impact.
Right, as far
And
as road.
well, Tenny Mountain.
The road has to cost the town money in order for the town to collect an impact fee, though, correct? So if it's a state.
Right, in this
the
case
road,
it would be,
can't
but
collect
I
an
mean, there
impact
could
fee.
be sidewalk, there could be a bunch of stuff. I'm being a little theoretical.
Well,
Like a Highland Street, Smithbridge Road,
Well, I guess when I started with that question, where does it, at what threshold does it become an impact versus a normal growth rate? If there's a
Right.
small building on Tenny Mountain Highway, we hit them with a small impact fee? And a large building pays a large impact fee, or do you allow town taxes to work that out based on the value of the property over time?
so to answer your question, I think it's, at least my experience has been useful to think about schools as an example first, and then take that example and apply it to commercial. So we're all taxpayers right now paying for whatever goes on in the schools. And if the school gets old and deteriorates and it needs to be fixed up and rebuilt, then we all as taxpayers will have to bear that brunt. When it's not falling apart and it's doing just fine, we have to bear the brunt of the other aspects of the budget of the school. So if a large residential development came in and was going to double the size of the student population, the school would have to be, a new school would have to be built. And that, if you didn't have impact fees, then the cost of the new school would go into the formula for all the current taxpayers, even though nobody's moved in yet, based on the idea as just that if the building was deteriorating and needed to be rebuilt. So rather than have the current taxpayers bear the burden of something that's going to benefit the developer, right, all these homes, you have an impact fee. And so the developer basically is paying what would have been paid for by taxes. Once the new school is built, then everybody is back to normal in terms of being an even playing field and paying their taxes to keep it going.
I would argue that by definition, you can't see that coming then. If it's a significant enough development, then we wouldn't see it 5 years at a time. It would blindside you, in which case we could apply the impact fee. But to try and come up with the impact fee this far ahead in the
Well,
game seems
this is
strange.
the thing, first of all, we're trying to, the next meeting, we're going to do some flow charts, because it gets really wild. What we're trying to do at this point is to brainstorm about our future. The residential piece we'll put right here, the commercial piece is the one that's happening right here. We're trying to get an idea of what we might need in any scenario where there's growth and development, and to try and get a little bit of information out of that, given your familiarity with the town and this and that. Then we take that information, we run it by the town's attorney to see if what would be asking for theoretical impact fees would be legit, and then we go out to a consultant. What we're trying to do now, is see if we really need this anyway. It's on the books, but do we really need to implement it? Because when it went on the books, and now, as you said, time keeps moving ahead, and you find yourself behind yourself, because that's how the process works, unfortunately. Because eventually we have to come up with that fee schedule, which is a real bear to do. And to come up with, or to help the consultant come up with a fee schedule, or have them come up with a fee schedule. This costs this much, this costs that much.
So
we will have done all this projecting.
right. So and projecting is the key word. So your question's excellent. We don't really know. We don't have.
We don't. That's why this is so
we don't have that crystal ball. So which is why there is that regulation that these funds can only be held for 6 years, at which point they get returned to the applicant who paid them. So if we think, and just to stick on the school example, so if we know how much it's going to cost to double the size of the school, if we have double the size of the population, we can say, okay, this is how much money we need to have come in, and we can figure out a ratio.
It's like an escrow.
And this is where you really need the consultant to come in
Right.
to help us out, because otherwise we're just, the 10 of us sitting at this table sort of doing weird. But with that as a goal, then you can collect money as it comes in, and if it doesn't come in, then the school doesn't get built. If some of it comes in and it's not enough to trigger needing a new school, the school doesn't get built, and the money goes right back to the people who deposit. And if all that development does come and school gets built, then the current taxpayers haven't paid an extra tax burden for it, and the developer's been able to write it off as a development cost. So it's part of their budget and part of their business plan.
As opposed to a yearly tax.
Right, as opposed to a yearly tax. And so it's sort of the business end of our society, taking care of making sure that taxpayers don't have to bear a big burden. So to move it outside of the school example, we have to think about what kind of traffic impacts are
Or
going to
whatever,
happen.
something of the like, yeah.
What kind of emergency rescue impacts there will be, because we know that we have a lot more development of businesses. We could imagine there'll be more crime. We can imagine that police cars will be needed to patrol that part of the town that's never been developed before, but now has 100 million square feet of space being developed. So you can make those kind of estimates, and if it doesn't come true, then you don't have to. You can
It seems like a lot of work for something that could very easily be abused. When the tax system,
Absolutely.
Property tax, seems to pay the bill
Hiring your own
now,
employees,
short of
spend
something out of the ordinary, and you have the issue,
Yeah.
the whole of an impact fee.
Well, that's-
When Tractor Supply moves in and there's a big expense that's directly attributable to someone, you can say, you pay for that.
Well, you can't do it after they move in. You have to say.
Well, as part of the application
Well,
process.
that's
you can
called
approve
the
it with an
offsite,
impact.
that is called the offsite impact.
Well, that's what I'm saying, when there's a
Right.
large project that's
Right.
directly attributable to a single
Yeah.
entity coming in or development coming in, if the school needed to be
But-
doubled in a year, you could.
Well, the fire department
actually-
says, oh, we're getting so many
but-
calls, we need more money for that.
Mr. Wilson has it.
I'd just like to make the point that where this all started was consideration about somebody coming into town with a commercial development and saying, well, now that triggers the need for a traffic light, for example. When in fact, a number of businesses and a number of entities really all accumulated
That's
because
what
of
I was gonna
accumulated
say. Yep.
because of the accumulated traffic of a number of businesses, we had to put in the traffic light. So what happens now is the last guy
The
in
last
has to
one, yep.
has to pay the entire bill. Rather than if we had an impact fee, then we could charge all of the other businesses as they come to town in an area, charge them this small fee, and then, or fee as appropriate by some formula. And then if it triggers the need for a traffic light, for example, or new sidewalks or some other kinds of off-site improvements, then it gets paid for by all of those folks, rather than the last guy in.
And that's what
Yeah, but that's
happens.
6 years, so you have to think that there's 6 people that are gonna come in. Now, the development's not that fast.
Well, the initial subdivision, could you have charged an impact fee to the initial subdivider of that, that put in the spur road? I mean, I think the theory still works, we just missed the proper timing in that scenario.
In which,
In the Boulder Point
Yeah,
development. I mean,
yeah.
really, the impact fee should have hit the first person to put that road in
Exactly,
rather than the
exactly.
last. I mean,
Exactly.
once
The last guy
you
got.
say
got
there's
told in the back.
68 acres, however many acres, I'm making the number up here, that you know they're
Right,
going to get
and
developed.
as I understand it,
Or
that's
should have
why
seen
the
that.
select board directed the planning board to look into this, so that that wouldn't happen again, or, last, it was like musical chairs,
Yeah, so the longer we take to implement this, and if we never, and obviously if we never implement it, then just always will be paid by the tax base. But the longer we take, the more people can come in and not be, and escape it, so that the last person in, that sounds scarier than it really is, because the last person in is going to be followed by somebody else who's going to be followed by somebody else. So they're not just the last person in, they might be the person in that triggers it. But since this is a continual process, everybody coming in will be paid from after if we start this. Everybody coming in after that will be participating some way or another. Yes, Ms. Rader.
I had mentioned, and Mr. Sutcliffe had a good point, we're collecting property taxes every year from the businesses already on Tenny Mountain Highway. And 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, they did a reevaluation. In Tenny Mountain property owners, even the ones that just have a raw piece of land, no one lives there and goes to local schools, there's not one fire truck that's probably gone to that vacant lot or treed area. There hasn't been one police car that I know of that's gone into the woods and arrested people that are hanging out there that I know of. They haven't been having an impact on the town, but they're paying huge amounts of property taxes just for a raw piece of land. And I believe that they're doing that, and my taxes went up at that same point, and they said, well, Tenny Mountain's exploding. And I go, it is? I said, what did we get? And but it's not like everybody's breaking down the doors of the town hall to get a piece on Tenny Mountain Highway. It's not an unlimited amount of profit they're making when they do develop a lot. We are getting already a ton of money on property taxes. And I mentioned this a couple of months ago, I'd love to see a couple of the property owners on Tenny Mountain Highway that have some raw land and see what they have to say. And I think once you listen to them and you find out, my God, you're paying that kind of money for taxes on that vacant lot, I think our thinking and the time that we're spending every single month away from our families at these meetings would change drastically, I think. And we may start moving on to a different topic.
Mr.
I would like to mention too, talk about timing and everything. Should we be looking at the impact fees from the residential side? So when that does eventually start to blossom, which it goes through cycles, and eventually housing will take off again.
Oh, we should, and it'll be the same formula. I'm just saying for purposes of not running through the maze a little bit like we've
Well,
been doing.
from my take on it, I kind of agree with Mike somewhat, and listen to Bert's good point of bringing up. I think there's way more impact in housing development than a business. because of the school taxes are the biggest portion of our tax bill. We all just pay our
Oh,
tax.
yeah.
The school's a big portion. And if there's even a small development, it doesn't have to be a huge development. If you build 10 houses, the school board will be asking for more teachers, you can guarantee it. So it's way more impact than a Tractor Supply or a store going out there that maybe once in a while a cop has to go out there and rush a shoplifter or something. That's still a small percentage of the police time, depending upon what's spent, for the whole police budget. So I think business impact, unless someone builds like a big building that needs like another looking ladder truck or something huge, that's an impact.
Well, there again,
I
one of
don't see a
the
big
points
impact
that
for
we.
small businesses that could
Were
build.
you at the last meeting?
Yes.
You were. Maybe it was the meeting before. We had that map that Kate Bicycle did on build-out areas.
Oh, yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
I saw it, yeah.
So maybe that's something we can really look at in terms of where we might anticipate
Right.
some growth.
Yeah, I just think that we get way more impact of the housing development. You get a housing development, it's schools, it's still roads.
Right.
A lot of times the housing development gets built, the builder builds the road, then wants to turn it over to the town, now the town's got to plow
Yeah.
it, maintain it, salt it, sand it, and everything. It's a huge cost.
And as I've said at previous meetings, when I worked for a city planner in New Jersey, there was an easy multiplier that was used.
Right.
Yeah.
You knew that this many bedrooms created,
Right.
on average, this many
Yeah.
students, and that many students required this much space in the classroom, and that much many
Yeah.
teachers.
And you hit a trigger on the teacher.
And that's what we've been
Right,
looking for
and
these consultants.
so I was surprised when you said that we decided not to do residential, to only look at commercial, and I thought
I prefer to
also.
flip-flop it, I prefer the residential first.
And I thought also that when we discussed commercial, we said we weren't going to just do Tunney Mountain Highway, because that sounded more like spot zoning, that we're going to say, lots of places in town are going to need fire, police, traffic lights.
Right, but
And so what we need to do is we need to get on the page about being fair to everybody in town.
we do, but the thing is, this is where it was happening now. I'm just saying for purposes of discussion, to get going, to do the brainstorming, to get us going, because we were so all over the place. I mean, if you think, maybe, I don't know, maybe we should, I don't know.
This is something-
Subcommittees on this?
Even though that this was a little bit out of realm, but if you want to pass that around, that had to do with Manchester.
Yeah, I know,
they
and
were
that's the
doing
kind of thing-
residential,
Right.
and they showed the different impacts on school and fire.
Right.
And that's what they did, school and fire.
Right,
And
that's the
that's-
kind of thing we'd be looking for.
Right.
And
These-
some of your
these-
examples had sewer and water. in
Yeah,
it.
these actual values wouldn't apply.
There was probably another town that
But
gave
this,
it to me.
yeah,
but-
this is what we've been looking for the consultant to do.
Like, Littleton, one of the two had a tap fee per.
Right.
Yeah.
bathtub per-
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, that's the thing, there's such a gamut of.
but the problem is our taxes are so high. I mean, when you do the impact fee, is it just a one-time fee?
Yes.
Yes.
Just right up.
And
So
and
you
again,
apply,
it's
that's
a way
it.
of alleviating taxes.
Right.
Yeah, right. We know how that works. The more they get, the more they spend.
Oh,
No.
Oh, no, we cut this budget down
Oh, come
by
on.
quite a bit of money.
Since these can only
The
be,
always goes down.
but Ms. Bishop, because these are targeted funds for targeted projects, it's not like they can just be spent on.
They have to be specific.
Yeah. then-
Right, what I'm saying, oh yeah, I know.
And you can imagine
Oh,
that
yeah.
the developers are gonna be watchdogs, because they're gonna want their money back.
Yeah,
If
if you
it's
tell me
not-
buy
if
a
it's not
fire
being
truck,
applied
you
the
better
right
go
way.
buy a fire
One
truck.
out of how many people?
One what?
1 out of 3,000 people.
One what?
One person's gonna be looking out for their money.
Yeah,
Out of,
I would think every
3,000
developer who had to put
taxpayers.
money into this fund would be a watchdog to make sure that they could get their money back if it wasn't used appropriately. I don't think it would be, and I don't think it would have additional expenses to increase other taxes because it's be so specific. But that's why I think we really do need a consultant or an expert or somebody. to tell us
Right.
I would like to
what
know
we're
how
talking
who would be the responsible party to pay attention to the funds, how it gets distributed, how it gets spent, and how does it.
Well, that's a protocol that would develop, would probably come under the finance department, but and you hadn't seen that last meeting. We decided, or the meeting before, we decided that we couldn't go to a consultant without boiling this down a little bit.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I remember that.
I mean, do we want
It's not
small
just boiling down, it's also
subcommittees?
boiling up. Because
Well, right. Do we want residential versus commercial? People get to put their heads together. I don't know, I mean, we've got to go out to public informational hearings to get some input from the public, which there again, as I said, well, actually, town meeting's next month, this being February, so maybe that's the next step.
Well, it seemed to me that the select board asked us to look at impact fees. we have looked at impact fees, and I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we've discovered that there's a lot we don't understand clearly. And I think that, you know, if the select board really wants us to understand impact fees, they need to help us get educated and not just say,
Figure this
we
out,
look
yeah.
at some towns, we've had some, I think, productive discussions, we've seen very important sides of the debate, and I think we need to get somebody to help us bring this together so we're more cogent. Mr. Wilson?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I don't think there's an argument here at all about whether we should look at residential and not commercial, or commercial and not residential. It's got to be both if we assess impact fees. The formulas will probably be different, and I think the consultant will help us there. And I think the effect on taxes is, if we don't assess impact fees, it will show up as increased taxes often for us. So I would be reluctant to turn away a possible source of revenue for the town if there are capital improvements that are needed, that the people who create the impact share in those costs.
So do we want to ask the select board, you know, to help us get a consultant to
Maybe
educate
we're at
ourselves
the
a
point
little
where
more?
we,
I mean, not a consultant to tell us what our impact fee should be, but just to really, I mean, and when I say
Guide the process.
consultant, I mean, there are a lot of planners in the state who you know, are either in towns that do this, or maybe teach in Durham or something like that, courses on this. I mean, if we could get somebody to sort of educate us why the state of the field, why towns across the nation use these impact fees, and why it's a good thing, and what problems are there.
so that's, you want a little more of an educational piece, you're not reaching.
I'm talking about
you're not-
education, yeah.
You're not doing an RFP at this point.
Exactly.
Because we don't know what we're looking at.
I think we need a consultant to see if we want to do an RFP, and then what kind of RFP we want to do. And when I say consultant, I don't mean some big, you know, $30,000 firm. I'm just saying somebody who really understands the stuff and can educate us. Yes, Ms. Vicky?
When I did an email back in November, there was, I had contacted Laconia, and they had hired Bruce Mayberry,
Yeah,
a
he's the-
consultant, and I didn't know whether you
He's the
contacted
premier
him.
guy, he's the premier guy, I don't know what his cost is, but he's the leading expert in the state on impact fees, and he does most,
In
he
Maine.
creates, right, but he works a lot in New Hampshire. He does a lot of work, if you've got an impact fee with costs and everything, he's your consultant that's doing it. So I think he would be the $10,000 guy.
Well, what I was thinking is, why don't we just prolong this until the next meeting? In the meantime, I will try to contact Bruce Mayberry.
Oh, I really
In
would
his office?
suggest against that, I really wouldn't, because
And just ask some information. What is your fee? You know, get
That's-
some sort of input.
That's
That's-
really good advice, I think, if we're looking for, going to the RFP, a request for proposals, and that's when you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, so we really do this right. I think we need
We have no clue.
a baby step before that. I think we just need somebody who can educate us, and I don't think we need to worry about fees.
And where are we
how-
going to look for somebody to educate us?
Well, we certainly, I think we put that back on the town's
Attorney?
lap. I think the town's lap.
Yeah, pay them.
But I think there are a lot of land use planners and professors of planners from various states, college systems here
Yeah, we'll
that we can maybe tap into.
That's not going to charge us.
Yes,
Does the contract have anybody?
Well, I'm not going to say there's no charge, but you're talking about acting and investigating.
Well, I'm doing it for free.
And your help and your research has been invaluable. So I think it's gotten us to this point.
I'll check with
The contract
NHPA.
have it all the time.
They have, yeah.
I'll check with OEP and the New Hampshire Planners Association, maybe they can recommend somebody who could just give us a little discussion and a little talk, maybe to try to fill this in, but I just, you know, Bruce Mayberry is good, and that's a very good point, Rhonda, but I mean, you don't go to him before
Right, I
you're ready.
didn't know. I don't know how big he is. I didn't know. He was just a name given, and I didn't follow through with that. But I'll be more than glad to do it.
I
Just
think
make that
that's a
phone
good
call.
name
It's
to
not
know.
going to hurt.
But I think we have to make sure that it's clear that we're interested in education, not in a proposal.
Oh, right. No, I'm talking about information. What is your cost? What do you do? What's the research? You know, where's your data? Where do you get it?
Now,
information.
The only thing to remember, and I bet you're going to sound a little bit like you when I say this, but you know, when you're asking a professional consultant to tell you why you should hire a professional consultant, guess what they're going to say? You need to hire a professional consultant, just like me.
Thank you, John.
But that's why I was thinking maybe getting, you know,
I wasn't gonna go that way.
Right, because my annual budget for a special project like this is $5,000, and I think that's about half.
And maybe for dinner and some travel money, we can get somebody
Right.
to drive
Yeah,
up and just talk
yeah,
to
well,
us.
that would be a different deal, yeah. Yeah, so I'll check on that.
All right, do we feel like we've made some progress, or at least fulfilled our duty of discussing?
I think that's what
Yes,
I
I
said.
know. Yeah, I think so too.
I think s- because
I
we're
think you're right
doing
there.
this again. I
Yeah.
mean, we're trying to get there, but we
Yeah.
just,
Well, I know
It's gonna take time.
Selectman Berman had mentioned he wanted to go the residential route. It appeared from that meeting. And I don't know if that was kind of public or not, but I thought he said that, but I wasn't certain.
I think a lot of cases have been
Not the
made
last
that we
one.
shouldn't necessarily exclude one.
oh, no, we're not. We were just all over the place so much that I was hoping we could just, for general examples, look at what's actually happening, which is commercial growth rate today.
So to come back to Mr. Ahern's concern, so if somebody was a property owner on Tenny Mountain Highway, this is what I would imagine, was that when there was a residential impact fee, as long that they would, if they're trying to sell to commercial interests, they would not have to worry about paying that impact fee because they're not building a residence. So that would keep, and that, so the residents, so the fact that the people who are building residential projects coming in, these big developments, if they're paying a fee, that would keep our taxes hopefully lower next time schools come up.
As I said, I think they're already getting taxed huge amounts of money.
I'm not debating that. I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. But can you imagine somewhere inside that this is a way to save taxpayers their money?
I think this town could use some jobs. I
So we can
think
pay their taxes.
bring people that are outside of Plymouth in.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we institute impact fees across the board, both general, both residential and commercial, does the planning board or the zoning board has a right to waive the impact fees if it's business applies and we don't think the impacts?
I think that might be the select board's decision.
Okay. But
Yeah,
certainly
but there
waive.
is a waiver
Right,
provision. I
right.
don't
So
know
even
if
the
that's-
impact fee schedule, whatever, dollars per whatever, you could always, the business, if you want to track the business, say, hey, we'll waive the impact fees, because, you know, you guys have got a nice business proposal, and we like everything you do.
Mhm.
I mean, you always have the right to do that. as a
But we
tax.
also have the right to implement the
Right.
impact fee
Yeah.
without having to put all this time and energy into it.
Oh, really?
If it's a big, and they need a light, we can say, well, we'll give you, I'm assuming this is.
On the current regulations, you
Yeah,
said.
it's, at some point we say, well, this is gonna trigger this. It just doesn't, it kind of prevents us from going after the small mom and pop store, a local person from Plymouth putting a store on Tenny Mountain Highway, which
Right.
would be nice. And then having to, 10 or 15 of those might equal one Lowe's.
But that's where the thresholds come in, and you establish the thresholds pretty much with the consultant, so that people do have some flexibility. It looks like you guys determine off-site impacts, which are appropriate. The board will then determine, the board may consider, so it sounds like the board has a pretty good hand in being reasonable, which is appropriate.
Okay. So
It's
if
my
I
head
hear,
hurt.
if I hear any complaints, we'll move out of our unfinished business of impact fee development. Okay, last chance to object. All right, the ninth item on our agenda is public comments. There's no more public
Public's not
here.
here. He's over there.
At least the public isn't here to make comments. We have the virtual public.
Right.
Last chance for any unfinished business. Then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So,
Moved by Mr. Ranlett. Everybody else wants to stay?
No?
And,
I second the motion.
Mr. Wilson seconds it, and we are dismissed at 7:46.
All right.